Hello and welcome to the episode 2 of Earth Voice webinar series. Today, we will be talking about environment through games and stories. Today, we have with us Minkat Lepcha and Zihad from Bangladesh, Minkat from India. Minkat is a Minkat is a filmmaker and anthropologist from India who works on telling stories about the environment and nature. And she works with women and children, and she teaches them the environment, and through that, she promotes learning. Jihad is an educator from Bangladesh who has worked with multiple development organizations and is now working on developing new and improved games and learning through games. So, hello everyone. How are
Hi,
you?
Hi,
very good, very good. Hi, Rafi. Hi, Zihad.
hi everyone, and hi to also the audience who are watching us
Oh, yes, hi to the
live.
audience. Yes.
Exactly. So, Minket, how about you start us off with an introduction about yourself?
Yeah, first of all, thanks a lot for inviting me, and I'm really, I feel a great privilege to be a part of this Bangladesh Youth Environmental Initiative. And I really like the fact that the youth are coming forward to work towards environment, and that gives me a really, it's very encouraging for me too. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm from Darjeeling, which is in India, and I worked on one film only that is based on River Tista, and it was called Voices of Tista. And I have been actually working as a storyteller and also as a facilitator, engaging with children and women for some time now. And I think the one of the main reason why I kind of got into storytelling is because I think we've just stopped listening to people, you know. So, and I think storytelling is a very interesting medium where we can not just educate ourselves but also engage with people. And I think that that is one thing which really excited me. But I wear different hats. Sometimes I become a photographer, and sometimes I'm, you know, like a storyteller, sometimes a teacher. And yeah, but I like researching on things and kind of disseminating the information. So that is what my introduction is right now. You want me to tell the journey of a storyteller, how I became a storyteller?
Yes, but before that, I have one more question, and that
Right.
is, um, the word story is very common, but I want to ask a storyteller directly. What is a story?
Oh, wow. It's a beautiful question. Um, Story is one thing which kind of touches you. First of all, when you are in touch with, when you kind of connect with a story, there is something that inside you which breaks or something which just blossoms, you know, and then it remains in you, and it remains in with you. And when it remains with you, there is something which motivates you to kind of share it with children or people. And it's not that this story comes whenever somebody tells, okay, why don't you share the story? It's not like that. The stories are sometimes when you see a person and you connect with the person, and that's how like this kind of stories evolve with people, you know. So for me, story is like it's like an alchemy. It's like an alchemist, you know, like a mixture of so many emotions, and then you present it in a form of some kind of a gift. So this is what I like about stories, and this is what I think is very interesting for me.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. Beautiful answer, Minket. So you were
Yeah.
saying your journey as a storyteller. Would you tell us a bit more about that?
And yeah, so you see, I am born and brought up in Darjeeling, and for me, it was like any other like life, you know, trying to earn and do things. But back in 2007 and 8, I was working in Delhi. I had done my education from Delhi University, and I came to know that there are some, like, you know, big dams which is being made in Tista up in North Sikkim, and many lepchas live there. And there was this whole idea of what is this holy land for the lepchas, and people were really against building that dam. And for me, it was a very interesting journey to really question, okay, who are we? What is this community about? What am I? That kind of question came about. And when I met our fellow lecturers from North Sikkim, I was really enticed by their stories of how it's a holy land, how we are actually connecting with our rivers, because I believe when we die, our spirit goes back to the river Tista and goes up to high mountains, of Kanchenjunga. So these kind of stories made me feel like, oh, there are some things that I need to really know about myself. It started igniting that kind of curiosity inside me. And then in 2012, I left my job and I left my work as a, advertising personnel. I was an account supervisor then working with Ogilvy. I left that and I actually started, I went to my villages, and through an organization called Acoustic Traditional, I actually went and started documenting stories and folklore from the North Sikkim communities. And I think what I really liked was all these mystical characters like Yeti and all. It was just very interesting for the when the shamans and the medicine men and women started sharing their stories. They said that Yeti was hunter god, and I think that made me feel like, oh, there is so much that we don't know, because we always know Yeti as hunter god, sorry, abominable snowman, ferocious, eating men and we were humans. But that was very interesting. And what they also said was like, like Yeti is related to River Tista, and River Tista is a sister, and Ginger is a brother. So this kind of relationship they had was something very, very, very interesting. And that is what deconstructed my whole idea of how we see rivers, how we see mystical characters. And uh, and that is what really inspired me to further make a film on River Tista. And I was given an opportunity to direct the film, where I traced the River Tista from North Sikkim till Kalijora, where the mountain communities end.
Hmm.
But when I was teaching simultaneously, because after shooting I would go for the teaching, I also realized that this is something which is, like I was not teaching the children about our local rivers. There was so much about the world rivers, like the Red Sea and the Caspian Sea, but not about the local rivers. And that made me feel like I need to disseminate these stories that I have collected while filming. And as I was doing this, the school was very cooperative, and they gave me the space. But I felt like I need to share it with more people, because I felt over a period of time, we as Himalayan communities have lost our touch with rivers. And that is where I felt like I need to connect, because when I was asking the children, what is this River Tista, where is it, and they were like, oh, we don't know, it may be near the bridge, it may be near this place I go. And this kind of I think oblivious answers like really pushed me to become a storyteller. So for the past 2 years, I have been actually sharing the stories of River Tista, and also allowing children and adults to connect with their rivers, because their rivers, our own respective rivers like Korotwa River in Bangladesh is dying. So I think this is something which allows me and pushes me to really become a storyteller with the cause.
Hmm. That's amazing. That's amazing. So
Yeah.
rivers actually are living beings, and when we start to believe that, and when we start to understand that, we truly learn to respect them and give them the respect that rivers deserve. So I have
Yeah.
a question for you, and that is, you told us
Right.
about why stories are, why you tell stories and your journey as a storyteller. But what I want to know is that, in your experience, what do you think? Why are stories such an effective method of teaching or learning about things?
I think more than the stories, I think the whole idea of storytelling, now we need to kind of have these platforms and spaces where we start telling stories, just literally start sharing stories, because I think it's time for us to not just tell the story, but to listen. I think over a period of time, we have become very bad listeners. We do not listen with our heart. We listen with our head, and so much goes inside our head that we do not realize that we do not see the real story sometimes. So the storytelling is not just to disseminate the stories, but also to make uh, like good listeners out of children. And the reason why I usually choose children is because I find them very interesting. I find these people, it's like, they are the ones who can take in as in a pure form with no biasness. And that's why I kind of disseminate these stories to children. But what is also more important is like to become good listeners. And the reason why stories have become very important right now is not just because of the story, but the whole idea of just sitting down and not doing anything, but just doing that one thing, that is listen to a story. It's as simple as that. And over a period of time, we have stopped connecting with human beings. We have stopped connecting from, like, emotion. It's always full of intellect, full of logic. But sometimes the stories has a wonder, a faculty of wonder. There is some magic in just believing in mystical creatures. And like in that whole process of understanding the mystical creatures, you understand yourself. So I think this is what I feel the time now is to believe in magic, to believe in miracles, and to believe in the fact that sometimes just listening to a story can do wonders, because that is the time when you're just there present at the moment, which I think over a period of time, we've lost that.
Hmm, that's nice. That's really true. That's very true.
Yeah.
And I think it would serve us, all of us, well to go back to a much more mystical time. I mean, back when we used to actually listen to stories and believe them. So, how
Right,
about we
right.
try to go back to that time right now? Would you like to share a story with us now?
Yes, I would like to share a story, but Rafi, how do I share this on Facebook? Like, if I want to go live, I want to share this live session that's going on my page. Do I just do share?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just click on share.
Yeah. Okay, but I don't think if it's gone. But anyway, so I'm going to tell you a story. From a couple of days, I've been thinking about what's the story that I need to tell for this forum, and I have been thinking about a lot of things that came about, and it's like always this. I wanted the story to come to me, and just a few minutes ago, I was just telling Zihad, hey, I'm gonna like tell a story on something else. But and I thought about it for some time, and I thought, what is it that India is connected with Bangladesh, and why? What is it that that story can do wonders? And for me, like I felt like it's the river which connects us, and it's the river which kind of binds us and makes us as brothers and sisters. So yeah, so this is why I felt like at the end of the day, no matter what, like different stories, but this story is important because as we go live now, there's so many youths listening to the story, to the will be listening to the story. And although there are a lot of different versions of River Tista story of different communities, I personally tell the story of my community, which is the Lepcha folklore. And we are have been like telling the stories from ages unknown. And I got really inspired by 90-year-old shaman when I was filming this Voices of Tista, when this old man actually sang this folklore to me in a form of folk song.
Wow.
And in 2017, he passed away. And the documentation of that song is there in the film. But I want to live that song every time when I tell this story. And I want to engage with people in respecting him and why, like, he shared such a beautiful knowledge to me that I would love to share it with the future generation and with the youth. So yeah, so I am, and also I must say that there are different versions of the story. Like there's the Three Sota, like with Tista talking about three rivers, and there is also this Kuche Meche in the Assam side, in the Siliguri side. We call it the plain side, where they actually also have their own versions of the story. But since I come from the Himalaya, so I felt like let's do this. And so I'm going to share a screen while I tell the story because I feel like it's important to show what I am actually going to tell you.
Mm.
Can you see the screen?
It's loading.
Can you see this?
It's loading.
Yeah. Oh, it's loading.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's about a time. It's about a time when there were no human beings in this Mother Earth, and everything was so pristine and clear and beautiful and just full of love. Okay, so I'm talking about the times when, like they say, the gods used to live here. So can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can.
Great. So this is the mighty Kanchenjunga, or Kanchenjunga we call it, or Kanchenju. And this particular mountain, the mighty mountain of one of the parts of Himalaya, is the mountain where you see Mount Everest also as one part of the range. And Kanchenju is so white and pure that the lecturers believe that we were born from these white mountains. So I'm talking about the times when everything was full of grace, full of harmony, and full of love. And it is about the times when these mountains were as small as a musketeer's tooth. So it was not as big as the one that you see. It was a very small white speck of snow becoming bigger and bigger. And as you know, this Himalaya is a new full mountain. So when I say that this Himalaya was so small, means I'm talking about the time when it was just like it was born. And when there was so much of gratitude that when the river, when the water used to, come in the form of a droplet and fall on these mighty mountains and fall on these trees, the tree used to say thank you to Mother Earth, because the droplets would fall as a seed on the flower, and the flower would blossom into a fruit, and the flower would say thank you, my dear rain, it's because of you that I can blossom into a fruit. And when the fruit used to fall down to the Mother Earth, the Mother Earth used to say, "Thank you, my dear tree. It's because of you that I have so many babies on my lap." And the river used to say thank you to Mother Earth, because it was very much because of the earth that the river had a shape. And the river used to say thank you to Mother Earth. Sorry, the earth used to say thank you to the river, because the river was nourishing them with water. And everyone was full of gratitude. And there was this mighty, very ferocious Yeti, but he was the one who used to guard these mountains of my mighty Kanchenchu. And he used to come down and meet the brother like ginger, medicinal plant, and also flowers like rhododendron. And you can see utis. We call this utis. And these two flowers, these two trees used to love one another, and there were these beautiful times when they had a harmony in the jungle. And so this particular time had so much of respect and gratitude that Idbu Devarum, which is the god of our, we call our god Idbu Devarum, and he or she, it's not a gender, so we do not call he or she, we just refer it as Idbu Devarum. Idbu Devarum decided that I am going to send two human beings down to Mother Earth, and I want them to see and learn how to be grateful, how to be thankful, how to love one another and follow the rules of the jungle. So this Idbu Devarum sent two human beings. One was Rangit and one was Rangnu. Rangit was a boy and Rangnu was a girl. As they were growing up in these mighty mountains of Kanchenju, so there was a huge jungle, right, in this beautiful Himalaya, and everyone was so happy that there were two human beings here in this earth. But as these two human beings started growing up, they started falling in love with one another. They started falling so much in love that they stopped following the rules of the jungle. They did not listen to the birds' sound. They did not see the wind blowing. They did not hear the gurgles of the river. All they saw was love for one another, these two human beings, so deeply and madly in love. And when these two human beings were so madly in love, they forgot that they had to respect certain entities of the jungle. They forgot that they have to be thankful when the rain comes. They forgot that they have to actually make sure that if they take something from Mother Earth, they have to give it back because it does not belong to them. and the jungle started feeling very angry. And they said, I don't like, I don't like the love between these two human beings. The love is so dangerous that it is going to kill us. It's going to destroy our jungle because they do not follow the rules. They do not even listen to us. They do not even look at us. We should separate them. That's how they started scheming. The whole jungle, this rhododendron and this utis, or if you call the scientific name, it is called Nepalensis alnus. And these trees started scheming against this whole idea of separating Rangit and Rangnu. And when they started scheming, Rangit actually was eavesdropping in one of the conversations because the whole this news had spread all over the jungle. And then this Rangit was so angry because Rangit was the ferocious, angry boy and said, I'm going to kill this jungle. How dare they actually kill us? How dare they think that they can separate us? And Rangnu was like, have you seen? Have you looked at yourself? Have you looked at your size? You're so small. Do you think you can kill the jungle? You will never be able to do that. So, what you will do now is you and I will have to find a way to go out of this place. And as men usually is, they're like, don't worry, my dear. Oh, my darling, don't worry. I am going to save you. I will be the hero of your life. And then he said, you become one river and I'll become another river. And together we will meet in a place called Pesok, which is called Panzok and Lepcha, which means dense jungle. But if you go to Pesok right now, which separates Sikkim and West Bengal, you will see only tea gardens, thanks to colonial rule. So, that is when they said, okay, but just be sure you come on time. And when that happened, they both was about to turn themselves into rivers. And Rangnu said, hey, but listen, we will be formless. How are we going to become this river? How are we going to go and meet in Pesok when we become formless? And Rangit was like, don't worry, my dear, I'm there for you. I'm going to give you the solution. You follow the snake, I will follow the bird. And we meet at Pesok, all right? And just be there on time. And together they turned into these two beautiful rivers. Rangit came from West Sikkim and Rangnu came from North Sikkim. Rangnu was a girl. And when they started traveling, it so happened that Rangnu came earlier than Rangit. And the bird that Rangit followed was this bird. It is called the Himalayan Munal. It was so beautiful to look at. And this is the national bird of Nepal. It was so beautiful, and everyone was so mesmerized looking at this beautiful bird. And when they, when both, when the girl arrived, she arrived here in Pesok. Pesok is here, and Pesok, and then she was waiting for Rangit, and all of a sudden, when Rangit came, Rangit was very angry. And he said, he did not even look at her. And he said, how dare you come before me? You are a girl. You are a weak girl. You characterless women. I'm sure you met someone along the way and you thought that you're going to show off that you are better than me. And that is the reason you came earlier than me. And Rangnu was like shocked. How can somebody just have so much of allegations without even knowing what happened? And that was the time Rangit got so angry. Rangit got really angry. This is Rangit and this is Rangnu. And if you see, this is Mount Kanchenjunga. So from here they came. And the reason why Rangit is like this is because it followed the bird. And then Rangnu is middle straight because it followed the snake. And that is the time Rangit got so angry, and as a river, it started going up. It started pulling the boulders, it started pulling the trees, everything around, it started destroying everything. And when this Rangit was so angry that there was a deluge all over these mountains. And when there was a deluge all over these mountains, there was this mountain called Tendong. If you look in in this picture, there is this mountain which looks like a volcano. It's here, and in this mountain, this particular mountain is a holy mountain for us because it saved us from this big deluge. So till now, people pray in this mountain. So this mountain had this, so everybody, all these young animals, young birds, like stood on top of this mountain and started praying. Started praying here. This is the one. Started praying to Itpudevurum and called the mighty Kanchenjunga and said, "Please, please save us. We are about to die." And Itpudevurum came in the form of this bird. The name of this bird is called hill partridge. And and the bird said, "Why have you come? What has happened?" And that is the time this people, this whole animals, living beings standing here in this mountain peak said, "Please, Idbudevurum, please save us from the anger of Rangit. Rangit is so angry that he is not even willing to listen to anybody. Please help us." And that is the time Ilpatrit said, "Why don't you offer millet, which is a grain, millet to this river? And please tell this Rangit that he has to go and apologize to Rangnu." And when that happened, this the people, animals, offered millet to this river Rangit. And as soon as the millet was offered, all of a sudden, Rangit came back to his senses. And Rangit realized what disaster that he had done. And before I continue the story, I must tell you one more thing. While these animals were offering millet to the Rangit, some of the specks of the millet also fell on the body of this bird. That's the reason the design of this there's a white specks you see on the chest of this hill partridge, and there are black specks on the body of this bird also. And if you go closer and smell, it smells a very pungent smell of our local drink, which is called chi, but it is millet. And then what happened was Rangit came back to Rangnu and said, "I am sorry." And then when he said sorry, Rangnu looked at Rangit for a very long time and said with a smiling face, "Only if only you would have listened to what I had to say. Because of your arrogance, because of your vanity, that you are a man and you are a big, big man, you felt that I am like, you are not, that I am a girl and I am not worth anything. And you, just in a fraction of a second, you decided that I am the cheater, that I have betrayed you. But you met this beautiful friend called Dafe. In Nepali, we call it a Himalayan Munal, and you just trusted and you didn't trust me. You lost your friendship in just in a matter of a second. So, but now, my dear, I'm not going to fight over these trivial issues anymore because here the idea is not to fight with you, not to fight over this you versus me. I want to respect you and I want to go together because we both have become rivers now. So we both will flow together as River Tista. And when we flow together as River Tista, we have to remember that we not only become river here in the mountains, but we become river downstream, providing water to so many communities, so many people and animals. But and just to honor you, I will take one more round here and make become a smaller river, and you become the bigger river. And I will always run below you. However, I will make sure that you will not forget the anger and the vanity that you had as a man. So you will always be murky river and I will be very blue and calm river because I did not react to what your anger did. So till now also, if you go from here, the where I've clicked this picture is called the Lovers Point. The reason why it is called Lovers Point is because of these two rivers joining, and these were two lovers. And here you will find River Rangit, a little murky. This one is not very clear picture, but you will find the River Rangit murky and River Rangnu, which comes from North Sikkim, a little very blue and green in color, and together they flow as River Tista. But as soon, I must also tell you that when Rangit came, how this River Tista name was formed. When Rangit came and saw the girl who came earlier than him, he shouted, Thisatha. Thisatha means when did you arrive? And that's how from here onwards, the point of this river is called Tista. And with this, I will show you the map of the River Tista. So here you see is the Himalayan mountains. I'm sorry, the map is a little pixelated. And as you go down, further down, it meets Bangladesh and joins Jamuna, meets Brahmaputra first and then joins Jamuna. So this is how the river folk tale goes. And one of the reason why I told you this story was not to tell you that the folklore of this river, but to say how this folklore actually connects us from one region to another. And if you look at this story, there is so many elements of medicinal plants. This rhododendron is a medicinal plant. You know, this is the flower we eat whenever we have a dry throat. This one, which is Nepalensis alnus, is a plant which is grown whenever there is a drought, whenever there is a landslide. They grow this. And if you look at this bird, it's so beautiful, and it has its own scientific taxonomy of how these birds are found around West Sikkim also. So this is how the story ends. I hope you enjoyed the story, and also to figure out how we are connected through this folklore, and how Tisata became Tista.
Yeah, it's an amazing story of how Tista became Tista. And it's an interesting story about how our two countries are connected. And
Right.
we share a lot of rivers, our two countries. Over 50 rivers are
Mhm.
transboundary and are shared between India and Bangladesh. And these
Yes.
rivers are I mean, Bangladesh, we call Bangladesh a riverine country, a country of rivers, the land
Right.
of rivers. And
Mhm.
majority of them come from India, and we share these rivers, and it brings honestly life to both of our nations together.
Mhm.
So, um, Minket, can you please tell us a bit more about why this story is important and why it's important to remember this story about the Tista River?
I think this story is important not just for the fact that it has not been documented enough, and it's in a form of oral. People have written the story, but one of the reasons why I find this story very important is because of the environmental history that this folklore tells us. It talks about the deluge, and it also talks about how the geography of the river is. Why is River Rangit a little curvy, and why River Rangnu is little straight, and why this Mount Tendong is there. So these are the environmental aspect of the folklore, which makes it so important for us to know which are the mountains. Because I do not see this kind of stories there in our textbook. We know which region, which country is which in which part and which state, but since we are so much closer to the mountains, we it is very important to know the mountain names, to know what are the rivers which is which is originating from which mountain peak. It's very important because right now with the glacial meltdown, with this climate change, and with the temperature rising, there has been a lot of glacial lakes which is actually bursting, or even like some of them are actually hazardous for the downstream. And I think these particular stories talks about how we should know what had happened in the history in our mountains. Because even if you go now towards the Sikkim side and the West Sikkim side, you find that the mountain is very fragile. Whenever there is a rainfall, there is a lot of landslide. Of course, now there is a man-made construction which is adding to the landslide. But the story always tells us, like, because of the deluge, that there was so much of destruction already created. And if you go to Mount Tendong, you will find that there is no water there. It's so interesting. And people actually every in August 8th, they celebrate Tendung Larumfat, which is like a celebration talking about how the people were saved from this big deluge.
Hmm.
Only if you know this, you will know the environmental history, and that's why I felt this story is important. And I think the downstream also should know the upstream communities, and the upstream communities also should know the downstream communities. It's very important for us to know what is the reaction of our action upstream, because I know like Bangladesh suffers a lot with the floods, and suffers a lot with the deluge. And I understand that they also suffer with this land erosion, and I think this story is kind of connect with us, saying like it's the same river we connect, and I feel that's why it is important for me.
Hmm. Right. And
Yeah.
the story not only talks about the physical environment, it also talks about, and the geography, it also talks about the species that are found there.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it talks about them and celebrates them, honestly. And that is something amazing.
Right.
So,
In fact, in fact, golden mahseer is one of the most rare fish that used to come all the way from downstream to high up in the mountains to lay eggs, because that is the time when during the spawning time they used to make sure that they used to come upstream to lay eggs and go down with the babies. But now those golden mahseer has become an endangered species. We
mm,
do not see from the fact that there are another species living beside the human beings. So yeah, that's one thing I wanted to mention.
right, right. And that is true for a lot of species which are endangered
True.
right now. So, aside from historical folklore that have been passed down from for time unknown, do you think that we can write new stories today which will tell the current generation and the future generations about the environment?
I think this we need to tell new stories, but we also need to tell the stories with the wisdom that our elders have given us. It is not possible that all the knowledge that our elders had is wrong. It is a
Right,
traditional knowledge, and we cannot negate the fact that just because they are not educated, they don't know. They know a lot more than we, and we are just educated, but they are. I mean, we are just literate, but they know when the wind blows, what is the time
they're
the rain
wise.
will come. When the
Mm,
bird crows, when there's certain bird singing, they know exactly how to sow the seed. So these are the knowledge which was wrapped up in a folklore or a folk song. So whenever you kind of make new stories, be inspired with the old, and be inspired with the fact that there was so much of wisdom in that story, and continue with the new version of the stories. So because this story that I mentioned was also inspired by the folklore, and the reason why I say inspired is because uh, when I went to Bangladesh and I met all of you guys, there was so much of brotherhood and sisterhood. I felt like it's very important to also connect the stories with our region, which connects with the other region. So this is the new form which I said, when the River Tista meets, the River Tista decides that they provide water to downstream. And I
right.
think that's how I made the new version in the story, because it's important to tell. So yeah, it's important to make the new story, but make the new story of peace, harmony, love, and gratitude. I think which is already there in our elders' stories. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Venkat.
Yes.
So,
Well.
one of the things that we lose when we lose our childlike sense of wonder is not only stories, but we stop playing games as well.
Yes.
And games are an amazing way for both children and adults to learn. So, now I would like to talk to someone who professionally works with games, and that is Jihad Bhai from Bangladesh. So, Jihad Bhai, would you like to tell us a bit more about yourself?
Thank you, definitely. So, my name is Jihad. I wish you can hear me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Oh, great. So, my name is Jihad. I'm actually working with the education, training, and game development thing. Also, like play. Basically, I work with the play thing. But the thing is, I'm not start my professional job in like that way. Basically, I complete my graduation from engineering, and then before my completing my thesis program, I just get a transactional job as a teacher in an underprivileged school. And but once when I go to get the transitional job, but my plan was like, okay, once my thesis is done, I will get back my engineering job or work in a factory or industry or whatever else. But once I get the transactional job, work with the kids as their teacher, as their mentor, I find something that okay, engineering is fine, that's cool, but this is a kind of place where I have to actually contribute. So then actually I involve with the education thing, training thing, and that kind of stuff. And once I get more involved on the training thing, especially, then I actually realize that game is a kind of thing which actually helps you more to reach out the participant or in the learning purpose, also like the skill set or mindset, both the things. So game is to me is like working as a bridge to connecting the gaps. So like I'm the facilitator, there is a participant, and or this is a knowledge, or there is a participant, so there is a gap, and games is work like a bridge to make the gap, right? So bridging the gap. So game is kind of actually bridging between the gap. So yeah, so game is a kind of tools for me, which actually help both to connect the elderly people, children, and everyone. Yeah, so that's why I choose the play thing and game thing. And also like everyone know that sometimes our parents and our teacher thinks, okay, the play is the apart from the education, but play is actually the part of the education, and sometimes we just forget that thing, right?
Hmm, exactly, exactly. So Ziad Bhai, would you like to tell us a bit more about how you work with games and
Right.
your experiences?
Right. Previously, in back in 2016, I was involved with different organizations through different trainings and that kind of stuff, teaching thing. So once I involved the different training thing, that then I realized actually the game is a very helpful tool for me. So then in back in 2017, I designed a game which is called Climate Game. So climate game is a kind of game. So suppose if I try to make people understood about the relationship between the climate change with harvesting, with rainwater, with food system, how climate change affect the food system, or with the gender, how climate change, why women are more vulnerable because of the climate change, why the coastal area women are more vulnerable than the normal areas women. So that is the kind of thing which is a bit tough to make people understood through lecture or through only showing videos or that kind of stuff. You may take 1 or 2 days to just make people understand that what are the alignment between the climate change with all the stuff, right?
Hmm,
So with this mindset, when we are thinking how we can mitigate this thing, so then we actually basically design a games which is called Climate Game. And so back in 2017, once we done with our module how we facilitate this game, so we input all the phenomenon like the women, like the climate change, the gender, harvesting, the rainwater, the Bangladeshi context or different challenges, and then we make one single game which is 2 hours basically. So so back in 2017 we first sorry back in 2019 we first launched our game with one NGOs in Bangladesh. So can I show one picture here? That's why.
yes, of course. You can
Cool.
just share your screen.
So yeah, so this is our first climate game, which is where around like 24 or 30, 25 participants came there, and most of them they are youth, but also some young professional like the businessman, some students also there, some NGO worker. So they came here to play this game, and this was very successful in the August, but still we get some lesson learned from this game, how we can make it more interactive and how we can make it more effective for the participant. So then once this workshop is done, we called it the climate game workshop. So once the climate game workshop is done, then we actually redesign it, and again we recirculate it for another workshop. So in November 2019 we again run 3 workshop in the same day. It was in back-to-back workshop, and like around 100 participants came around through 3 workshop. So here I see one picture. Yeah, so that was this was and this time we are more like organized and more impact, more effect is coming, more stakeholder involved through our games, different kind of NGOs worker who are actually working with the climate change in Bangladesh. They came here, they give feedback, and they actually enjoy it. So the thing is, after the workshop, we get the feedback from the participant that this is really helpful for them because they also realize that this is very tough to understand the alignment or the relationship between the climate change and all the factor, right? But through the games, because why the game is actually the different from the lecture or other method, because in this game the participant actually play different role. They show they show the relationship of the effect. Suppose they are harvesting something and the climate change is not there, so they get a certain amount of crops, and once then we actually input the climate change in this game, and then their harvesting is just disrupt and their crops cycle is going down. They get less amount of crop, their livestock is getting down. So they show it like in kind of like live movement, lively, like, and they empathize because of they play the role of the women and they play the role of this specific farmer, right? So that is how the game is basically working so differently to make it understood. And yeah, so that is our one games. And also I want to mention that is back in 2020 I'm working with Oxfam for a certain program. This is called Fisheries Camp. So in Fisheries Camp, a lots of fisheries come from the different areas of Bangladesh. The very popular areas of Bangladesh for fishing, like Chandpur or the Thakurgaon, different areas of Bangladesh. So they are like almost very expert on fishing. So they know lots about of fishing or fish or the river system or the whole thing. But the thing is, they so we are design a game for them. So here I can show one picture. So it's not like that they don't know about the river system or fishing or that kind of stuff. But sometimes they don't feel it that if they don't harvest or they don't catch the fish when the it's go to the upstream, to in upstream for their baby or for their eggs. So sometimes they catch this fish, but if they don't catch that kind of fish, which is mother fish basically, that will get more benefiting for them, right? So in this game, basically we are simulating kind of thing where the participant who are everyone is fisher folk, come from different background, different areas, and they are like in live simulation. They saw it how the effect is they get by themselves if they catch the mother fish, and what kind of effect they get or what kind of benefit they get if they don't catch the mother fish, right? So they know a very much about the fishing, but they don't show it the direct impact, or they don't show the direct simulation in life most of the time, or they don't know it sometimes. So in this game, so this is the kind. So suppose if I invite different fisher folk and tell them a lots of about so this or a big lecture, or invite different expertise and tell them different case study, that doesn't maybe work because they don't relate this thing, right? But in these games we introduce fishing, we introduce different kind of net, we introduce boards, we introduce different of element what actually they use in their real life. That's why the whole system they actually relate it. So games is basically we use it because this is more human centric and human actually relate this thing with their in real life. So that's why they are more empathetic. That's why we actually input games or involve games or design games. Yeah,
I think it moves, right? It's a moving entity. We are learning as we are moving and not just sitting down and trying to
exactly.
understand, right? I think that's yeah.
And exactly, and also like the regal level, the suppose you are now playing in the level one, so that is your in one regal level, and then we are going to in second stage. Suppose in the climate game, so first we don't introduce the climate change. There, everyone is harvesting in their normal lives. They are get a certain amount of crops, or in the livestock is going on. So then climate change is coming. So then their life is disrupting. So they really they feel it in their real life. And then we input the different climate change effect, like the sea level is rise, so that's why, so that kind of stuff, right? So the leveling up, and they feel it in their real life more effectively.
I think challenges,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah, challenge, that's true, surviving
Yeah.
challenge.
It's not like a game, like an online game of level. Like
Oh
sometimes
no.
I think these riverine communities actually go through these challenges, I think, right?
Exactly, every time. not only even riverine people, also because of the climate change, the coastal area people,
Oh
even
yeah.
even in back in 2018, 2008, there was a very big storm happened in this area is called Isla, and after the
Yeah.
Isla, most of the safe water, drinking water sources is going down and is destroyed. So most of the women take around 3 or 4 hours to just collect the safe drinking water every day. Just imagine it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, how about the Amphan? Like, how much of destruction has it happened in
Um,
Sundaban?
the thing is, Amphan, as much we predict, this is not happened at Bangladesh. That much destruction is not happened because of the Sundarban, definitely. But still, there some destruction happened in like the different poultry farm or in the different areas who are like artificially fishing or that kind of stuff. So they are actually bit their farming is bit destroying, but still the destruction is less than we predict.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think in Indian side of Sundarbans, there was quite a lot of destructions happened. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of worry before Amphan came and what would
Mm.
happen because it was a super cyclone. So,
Right.
yeah. So, Zihad Bhai, is there anything else that you would like to share with us regarding your work with games?
Yeah, so one thing I want to share that is in this year we are facilitate one climate workshop with one university of the Bangladesh. So the most of the student of this workshop are come from the different subject like the environment or climate that kind of subject like the third year student, fourth year student. So once the workshop is done, so like every student is directly formally informally reach out to us and tell us like in 3 or 4 hours of our study, never the university class or the curriculum introduce this kind of topic in such a way. So they are like come from the that kind of subject like environmental justice or environmental issues or climate change, whatever else. But the thing is, the teacher are not introduce this kind of topic with them in such a way, like in using games or using more interesting way. So everyone is so overwhelming. So they are so happy. So they are tell us, okay, why don't you approach our university and all of our courses like transforming like that in such a way. So we really they are really appreciating it and they really enjoying it and they everyone tell it that this is really helpful for them. Yeah, so we are planning to make more games on different topic like the carbon tax issues or the issues which is actually not very familiar and which is not very easy in fact to understood, or the issues which is normally the people who are not related with these issues not try to involve with this thing. So we are trying to design different kind of game on that kind of issues. That's why the people who are directly not connected with these issues like climate change or that kind of stuff, so they also get interested to involve with it. So we're planning like the river game. We're now designing a game which is called river game. How the river is, how the people actually learn about the different effect of river, the different phenomenon of river, that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that's one thing. And another thing I want to share is like in our curriculum or in our school level when we are studying, not all the subject are is like skill based, right? So in when we are learning math, so math is a very core skill which we have to learn, but not all the subject is basically skill based, right? So the suppose social study is not a skill based subject. So you have to learn how we have to empathetic, we how empathetic on the environment, that kind of stuff. So suppose so that what I want to what I try to say is like not all the subject is like skill based. So we don't I think we have to redesign our curriculum. That's why in different subject like the environmental issues or the social study or the other subject like the Bangla, suppose the Minket introduces the storytelling thing, right? So in the Bangla, the storytelling is a very fantastic, a very good way to make the student more connected to this issue. So what I try to say is like suppose sometimes we are only focusing on the skill on different issues, but apart from the skill, we also think about the different empathy, different mindset, different that kind of stuff. And for that, we have to also introduce different element instead of the lecture-based class or that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that's why the student get more empathetic on the different issues, or like our environment, our human being, our animals, species, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, something like experiential learning. I think we are
Yeah.
really missing on the experience.
And also like sometimes a student never get empathetic on the environmental or the trees or the any animals if they don't feel it,
See
right?
it, yeah.
So it's not possible to only the teacher tell a huge about different thing. So it's not about skill. One student
Right,
learn
right.
about 100 types, they memorize 100 kinds of bird. So that's not an empathetic
Mm.
thing. So they just memorize it. But if the kids that go to the environment, see the bird, they see the beauty of the bird, then they may get more empathetic. So this is not about skill. This is more about
Mm.
mindset. This is more about empathy,
Connection, human to
connection,
human, yeah, emotional
emotion.
connection.
Exactly,
Mm.
exactly. So I just in the very last, I want to show one picture that is we make it in like last month. So that is like a color hunt tool. So we give it to any kids and tell them, okay, find some color from the nature, which is organic, definitely like the dead leaf or the clay or the any kind of stuff, and match it with this color and came back to like after 5 or 6 minutes. So that's why they know the color through environment, through more organic material, through like so they more touch with the environment thing. So that kind of stuff we are trying to develop for the kids, for the middle school, for the adult, everyone. Yeah.
Very nice,
That's really nice.
beautiful.
Very beautiful. And if we can make learning more connected to nature, I mean, young people will feel more connected to nature from a younger age, and they will feel more connected to the environment, and they would learn to respect the environment much from a much younger age. I mean,
True,
what
very
is
much.
happening now is we are trying to do awareness building or raise the awareness, but that is very hard to do when we are adults and we are trying to show everyone the logic that climate change is bad. That's why we need to care about the environment, or there is pollution. That's why we need to care about the environment. But that doesn't always work. So we need to take different routes as well. And I
But
think,
Rafi,
yeah,
yeah, I just wanted to add one thing, which is so ironical. Without even anybody telling us, whenever we feel sad or whenever we feel like, a little emotional, we always take help of nature. We either look at the river or we either look at the mountain or just try to go in some far off place where nature is there. We are actually always learning from nature. It's just that our education system did not acknowledge it. I think that is
right.
where one thing, because we were from young children only, we have always been connected to nature. Just over
Hmm.
a period of time, it just separates us from nature because we have to do so many other things.
And one interesting thing I noticed is that a lot of us, even who live in cities, often have nature wallpapers on our phones and on our computers. So even unconsciously, we are somehow trying to connect to nature or look
Yeah.
at nature whenever we can. So
Mhm.
that's something interesting.
True,
And
very much true.
at BYI, when we do our trainings, we often do a lot of trainings. And instead of focusing on the negatives of the environment, that climate change is destroying our planet or the environment is being destroyed, we try to focus more on how we should love our nature and why
Right.
we should love our nature, and trying to teach or raise awareness on in that direction. I
Yeah.
mean, at least that's what I have been doing in my time here.
Yeah,
So
I
I
think we
think
need
that is
to promote the love culture. I think
exactly, there's
it's
too
not, we
much hate.
can't do it with hate. I don't think
Exactly.
so. Mm.
Yeah, and also like different kind of solution, which is also like this year biodiversity day theme was like nature is in our solution. So yeah, that's true. Sometimes we are finding different kind of pesticide to control the insect or that kind of stuff. But actually, the bird is our best pesticide, right? But we actually kill the bird first, then we kill the insecticide. Yeah.
We kill the tree first.
Yeah, exactly. First we kill the tree, that's why the birds are dead and insecticide number is high. Then we use pesticide.
Never ending vicious circle.
Yeah, that's true.
and then the pesticide comes to kill us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's sad. It's truly sad. But honestly, I think we can actually change the environment, the way our education system is, and how we approach education as a whole. Because the fact that you two are working on education from these directions, and the fact that this is possible in the year 2020, shows that there is a change. Because change is happening. Because people are working out there. Minkat is working with stories, and Zihad Bhai is working with games. And there are other people out there who are doing similar work. And these works are actually going forward and changing our education system into one which is much more effective, which is much more useful, and which brings more the environment more to the forefront. So that is something that is definitely an amazing development. So we are running a little short on time. So I would like to ask in the end whether you have any closing remarks.
Zihad, you want to go first?
Okay, so I just want to say one thing, that is, so everything you can get from the nature. Nature is not enemy for you. That's why. But once you can destroy the nature, so that is work like an enemy for you. So yeah, so it's like an friend. It's a nature is a kind of friend which you have to nurture to make the friendship alive. And once the friendship is dying, it's become make a villain, right? So the ice area like the Antarctica, or the ice, the country which is full of ice, so that is balancing the earth. But this is the kind of friendship for us. But if we don't nurture it, the ice is melt down and it's become a enemy for us. So enemies like that. So that is my closing remarks. So make the friendship alive.
Thank you so much, Ziyad. That was amazing. So Minkat, would you like to?
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to say, like, just the way, River Rangit and Rongyu fell in love with one another and forgot to see different parts of the jungle. I think we all have become this Rangit and Rongyu so much in love with human and human pathos and human sufferings that we do not see the suffering of other beings or other species or other plants, right? There are mountains dying, there are rivers drying, there are species endangered, and with the Assam oil spill, there are a lot of species which are in suffering right now. Amphan has not just killed human beings but also different species. So I think to see the suffering from not just human being but from the fact that there is some thing alive inside, I think we have to see that. And once you start seeing and empathizing that kind of suffering, you will understand that nature is not just you and nature. You are a part of a nature, and we are just a small speck of it. And there are a lot of other things that makes nature and that makes environment. So try to see from that perspective. And even if there is some kind of hate that comes to you, always try to love, and the solution will only come through love, and solutions will come through listening. And just like the way Rangnu listened to Rangit, please listen with your heart, and then we will have the solutions which will come with our heart. So yeah, that's how I would like to close it.
Thank you so much, Minkat.
Yeah.
So in the end, I would like to thank the both of you, Minkat and Zihad Bhai, for
Thanks
joining
to
us today.
you. Thanks to you, Zareen, and
Thank
all
you.
my friends from Bangladesh.
Yeah, and thank you BYEI
Yeah,
for organizing this kind of initiative. And I wish after the post COVID-19, we'll work together to make a more sustainable environment.
Definitely, definitely. We can actually start on more sessions on stories and games, and that could be amazing. As long
yeah.
as soon as the world
During COVID-19 is also okay because we don't know when this COVID-19 is going to end.
Yeah, and also like different nature element is growing up because of the COVID-19. The birds are come back.
Oh,
It
yes,
all,
I'm so happy.
yeah, yeah.
Mother Nature is healing.
Sometimes I feel that human is bad for the nature.
definitely bad for the nature. I once saw a
It's
quote
not
that
human. It's not human, it's the human greed which is bad for
Yeah,
nature.
that's true. That's true. I'm just kidding.
No, but I am serious.
I once saw a quote that humans are the virus, coronavirus is the vaccine. So for rest of the species at least. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
sad,
true.
but it's true for nature.
Yes, yes.
So finally, I would like to thank all of you for watching us for 1 hour, and
Yeah.
to everyone else who will be watching this in the future after the live stream ends. So thank you so much for joining us, and joining us again next Friday at 8 p.m.